Yeah, I don't. Looks good to you. Okay. I believe so.
To right now.
There's nothing on channel 20. There's wild. This mic is open now.
Are you just sitting there?
Well, it's okay. It's your choice.
You can walk away.
Sorry, sir, just to make you aware. Just shoot a live shot. Thank you.
Техническая проверка. 121, 122, 123, 124, 125, 126.
Good day. Just double checking our last minute translation booths, making sure everyone is getting everything as needed. Again, you should be having English in your English only modes. The floor will get both everything at the same time. On your headsets, it should be 00 floor, 01 should be English, and 02 should be Russian on your headsets. So again, just doing a couple last minute checks, making sure everything is going through as it should. Thank you.
Кремлевский пул, у вас все хорошо, все нормально? Камеры, покажите, пожалуйста, большой палец, что все нормально. Все, спасибо большое.
PlayStation blind.
I already read all of that. Sir, sir.
Colville. Colville. It's a 3G, 4G phone.
Oh yeah.
It'll work better.
Yeah, but
You don't have the adapter?
I can't break it now.
Oh,
I'm Bluetoothing into my thing, but thanks.
no worries. I usually do a USB-C hard wire.
Does that work on USB-C?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
So do the new cell phones.
Yeah. I do have that cable. I just in the middle of it now.
Yeah, it's fine. The flip phones are a little, they're older, but they don't take as much bandwidth. No.
Watch your back, mister. Sir. Huh?
It's a losing fight. Robert, over here. Mark, how do you Bluetooth into the mixer? Adapter 3? Yeah, yeah. They're very good. It's where the blue cable goes to.
Sorry, repeat that? Oh, that wasn't me.
Is that for Tony? For Tony's? Yeah.
Okay, well then.
Mario said it's there somewhere. I mean, I'll Gumby, but not that far.
Rachel dropped. Yeah, the other Wi-Fi is totally dead. Is it working?
Hey, New York, how's this audio now? How's this audio with Kelly now? I need to go closer to her.
just came in. Caroline Butnick? Butnick? Yeah. She may have to give up on this. Let's see you live.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States of America and the President of the Russian Federation.
Уважаемый господин президент,
Mr. President,
дамы и господа,
ladies and gentlemen,
наши переговоры
our negotiations have been held in a constructive atmosphere of mutual
были
respect.
весьма обстоятельными
We had
и
very
полезными.
thorough negotiations that were quite useful. I would like to thank once again my American counterpart for the proposal to travel out here to
Вполне
Alaska.
логично
It
встретиться
only
именно
makes sense
здесь,
that we've met
ведь
here,
наши страны,
because our
хоть нас
countries,
разделяют океаны,
though
на самом
separated by the
деле
oceans,
близкие
are
соседи.
close neighbors.
И когда мы встретились,
So when we've met,
вышли из самолетов, я так
when I
сказал,
came out of the plane and I've said,
добрый день, дорогой
good afternoon,
сосед,
dear
очень
neighbor.
приятно видеть вас
Very good to see you
в добром здравии
in good
и
health
живым.
and to see you
И
alive.
по-соседски это очень
I think that is very
звучит,
neighborly,
по-моему, по-доброму.
and I think that's some
Нас разделяет только
kind words
Берингов
that we can
пролив.
say
Да
to
и
each
то,
other.
там два
We're
острова
separated by the Strait of
между
Bering, though there are two islands
российским
only
и
between the Russian
американским
island
островом
and
всего
the
4
US island. They're
километра.
only 4
Мы
kilometers
близкие
apart.
соседи.
We're close neighbors,
Важно
and it's a
также,
fact.
что с Аляской связана
It's also
значительная
important
часть
that
общей
Alaska
истории
has to
России
do with our
и
common
США.
heritage,
Многие
common history between
позитивные
Russia and the
события.
US, and
Так
many
здесь и
positive
по
events
сей
have
день
to do with that
сохраняется
territory.
огромное культурное
Still, there is
наследие
tremendous
после русской Америки.
cultural heritage back
Православные
from the Russian
храмы,
America. For example,
множество,
Orthodox
более
churches
700
and a lot of
географических
more than
названий, имеющих
700
русское
geographical names of Russian
В
origin.
ходе Второй мировой войны
During
именно
the
на
Second World War,
Аляске
it was here
начиналась
in Alaska that was the
авиамагистраль
origin
для
of the
поставок
legendary
боевых
air bridge
самолетов
for
и
the
другой
supply of military
техники по
aircraft and
договору
other equipment
Ленд-Лиза.
under the Land-Lease
Это был
program.
опасный,
It was a
сложный
dangerous
маршрут
and treacherous
над
route
громадными ледяными
over the
пространствами.
vast
Но летчики и
emptiness of
специалисты двух
ice.
стран делали все,
However, the
чтобы
pilots of
приблизить
both
победу.
countries did everything
Рисковали,
to bring closer the
отдавали
victory.
свои жизни
They
для
risked
общей
their
победы.
lives and
Вот
they
я
gave it
щас-
all for
щас
the
только
common
что был
victory.
в городе Магадане,
I was
в
just
России, там
in the city of
памятник стоит
Magadan in Russia, and there is a
российским и
memorial there
американским
dedicated to the
летчикам.
Russian and the
И флаг
US
на
pilots.
памятнике российский
And
и
there are two
американский.
flags, the
Я знаю,
US
что
flag
и
and the Russian
здесь
flag.
тоже
And I know
есть
that here
такой
as
же
well,
памятник.
there
На
is
военном
such a
кладбище
memorial.
всего в нескольких километрах отсюда
There is a military
захоронены
burial
советские
place
пилоты,
several kilometers away
погибшие
from
при
here.
выполнении той
The Soviet
героической
pilots that
миссии.
buried there who died during that dangerous mission. We're thankful to the citizens and the government of the U.S. for carefully taking care of their memory. I think that's very worthy and noble. We'll always remember other historical examples when our countries defeated common enemies together in the spirit of battle camaraderie and allyship that supported each other and facilitated each other. I'm sure that this heritage will help us rebuild and foster mutually beneficial and equal ties at this new stage, even during the hardest conditions. It is known that there have been no summits between Russia and the U.S. for 4 years, and that's a long time. This time was very hard for bilateral relations, and let's be frank, they've fallen to the lowest point since the Cold War. I think that's not benefiting our countries and the world as a whole. It is apparent that sooner or later, we had to amend the situation to move on from the confrontation to dialogue. And in this case, a personal meeting between the heads of state has been long overdue. Naturally, under the condition of serious and painstaking work, this work has been done in general. Me and President Trump have very good direct contact. We've spoken multiple times. We spoke frankly on the phone. And special envoy of the President, Mr. Woodruff, traveled out to Russia several times. Our advisors and heads of foreign ministries kept in touch all the time. And you know fully well that one of the central issues was the situation around Ukraine. We see the strive of the administration and President Trump personally to help facilitate the resolution of the Ukrainian conflict. And his strive to get to the crux of the matter, to understand its history, is precious. As I've said, the situation in Ukraine has to do with fundamental threats to our security. Moreover, we've always considered the Ukrainian nation, and I've said it multiple times, a brotherly nation, however strange it may sound in these conditions. We have the same roots, and everything that's happening is a tragedy for us and terrible wound. Therefore, the country is sincerely interested in putting an end to it. At the same time, we're convinced that in order to make the settlement lasting and long-term, we need to eliminate all the primary roots, the primary causes of that conflict. And we've said it multiple times, to consider all legitimate concerns of Russia and to reinstate a just balance of security in Europe and in the world on the whole. And I agree with President Trump, as he has said today, that naturally the security of Ukraine should be ensured as well. Naturally, we are prepared to work on that. I would like to hope that the agreement that we've reached together will help us bring closer that goal and will pave the path towards peace in Ukraine. We expect that Kiev and European capitals will perceive that constructively and that they won't throw a wrench in the works. They will not make any attempts to use some backroom dealings to conduct provocations to torpedo the nascent progress. Incidentally, when the new administration came to power, bilateral trade started to grow. It's still very symbolic. Still, we have a growth of 20%. As I've said, we have a lot of dimensions for joint work. It is clear that the U.S. and Russian investment and business cooperation has tremendous potential. Russia and the U.S. can offer each other so much in trade, digital, high-tech, and in space exploration. We see that Arctic cooperation is also very possible. And our international context, for example, between the Far East of Russia and the West Coast of the U.S. Overall, it's very important for our countries to turn the page, to go back to cooperation. It is symbolic that not far away from here, the border between Russia and the U.S., there is a so-called international date line. I think you can step over, literally, from yesterday into tomorrow. And I hope that we'll succeed in that.
экономической сфере.
in
Я
political
хотел бы
sphere.
поблагодарить
I would
господина
like to
Трампа
thank
за
President
совместную
Trump
работу,
for our
за
joint work,
доброжелательный и доверительный
for the
тон бесед.
well-wishing and
Главное, что с
trustworthy
обеих
tone
сторон
of our
был настрой
conversation.
на
It's important that
результат.
both
Мы
sides
видим, что
are
президент США имеет
result-oriented, and we
четкое
see that the
представление о
President of the
том,
US
чего
has a
хочет
very clear
добиться,
idea of
искренне
what he would
заботится о
like to achieve.
процветании своей
He
страны
sincerely
и в то
cares
же
about
время
prosperity of his
проявляет
nation,
понимание наличию в России
still
своих
understands that
национальных интересов.
Russia has its own
Рассчитывает, что
national
сегодняшние
interests. I
договоренности
expect that
станут
today's
опорной
agreements
точкой
will
не
be
только для
the
решения
starting
украинской
point,
проблемы,
not
но
only
и
for the
положит
solution of
начало
the Ukrainian
восстановлению
issue,
деловых,
but also will help
прагматичных
us bring
отношений
back
между
business-like
Россией
and
и США.
pragmatic
Ну и
relations
в
between Russia and
завершение
the US.
хотел бы вот что
And in the
добавить.
end, I would like to
Я
add one
помню,
more
что
thing.
в
I'd like to
2022
remind you that
году
in
во время
2022,
последних контактов
during
с
the
прежней
last
администрацией, я
contact
тогда
with the previous
пытался
administration,
убедить
I tried to
своего
convince
прежнего американского
my
коллегу в
previous
том,
American
что
colleague
не нужно доводить до
it
ситуации
the situation should not be
после наступления, которые могут наступить
brought to the
тяжелые
point
последствия в виде
of no
боевых
return
действий.
when it would come
И
to
прямо сказал
hostilities.
тогда,
And I
что
said
это
it quite
большая
directly
ошибка.
back then that it's a big
И
mistake.
вот сегодня мы слышим, когда президент Трамп
Today,
говорит,
when
что если бы
President
я был
Trump saying that
президентом, то войны
if he
бы
was
не
the
было.
president back then, there will be
Я
no
думаю,
war.
что так бы
And I'm
на самом деле
quite
и
sure that it would
случилось.
indeed be
Я
so.
подтверждаю
I
это,
can confirm that.
потому что в целом у
I
нас
think that
с
overall,
президентом Трампом
me and President
наладился
Trump
очень хороший
have built a very
деловой и
good
доверительный
business-like and
контакт.
trustworthy
И
contact.
мне, у меня есть все основания
And I have
полагать, что
every
двигаясь
reason
по
to
этому
believe that
пути, мы
moving
можем
down this path,
дойти и до,
we can
и
come
чем быстрее, тем лучше,
and the sooner the
до
better,
завершения конфликта
to the
на
end
Украине.
of the conflict
Благодарю
in
вас
Ukraine.
за
Thank you.
внимание.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. That was very profound, and I will say that I believe we had a very productive meeting. There were many, many points that we agreed on, most of them, I would say, a couple of big ones that we haven't quite gotten there, but we've made some headway. So there's no deal until there's a deal. I will call up NATO in a little while. I will call up the various people that I think are appropriate, and I'll, of course, call up President Zelensky and tell him about today's meeting. It's ultimately up to them. They're going to have to agree with what Marco and Steve and some of the great people from the Trump administration who've come here, Scott and John Radcliffe, thank you very much. But we have some of our really great leaders. They've been doing a phenomenal job. We also have some tremendous Russian business representatives here, and I think, you know, everybody wants to deal with us. We've become the hottest country anywhere in the world in a very short period of time, and we look forward to that. We look forward to dealing. We're going to try and get this over with. We really made some great progress today. I've always had a fantastic relationship with President Putin, with Vladimir. We had many tough meetings, good meetings. We were interfered with by the Russia hoax. That made it a little bit tougher to deal with, but he understood it. I think he's probably seen things like that during the course of his career. He's seen it all, but we had to put up with the Russia hoax. He knew it was a hoax, and I knew it was a hoax, but what was done was very criminal. But it made it harder for us to deal as a country in terms of the business and all of the things that we'd like to have dealt with. But we'll have a good chance when this is over. So just to put it very quickly, I'm going to start making a few phone calls and tell them what happened. But we had an extremely productive meeting, and many points were agreed to. There are just a very few that are left. Some are not that significant. One is probably the most significant, but we have a very good chance of getting there. We didn't get there, but we have a very good chance of getting there. I would like to thank President Putin and his entire team, whose faces, who I know in many cases, other than that, whose faces I get to see all the time in the newspapers. You're almost as famous as the boss, but especially this one right over here. But we had some good meetings over the years, right? Good, productive meetings over the years, and we hope to have that in the future. But let's do the most productive one right now. We're going to stop really 5, 6, 7,000, thousands of people a week from being killed, and President Putin wants to see that as much as I do. So, again, Mr. President, I'd like to thank you very much, and we'll speak to you very soon and probably see you again very soon. Thank you very much, Vladimir.
Next time in Moscow.
Oh, that's an interesting one. I don't know. I'll get a little heat on that one, but I could see it possibly happening. Thank you very much, Vladimir.
Thank you.
And thank you all. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Down, please, sir, down. Down, please, thank you, thank you.
They are moving the pool. They're rushing the pool out. All the doctors and the advocates, because I can see them all moving. U.S. pool.
Down. Down. Down.
So a live look at Joint Base Andrews, where moments from now, President Trump will travel to Alaska for that critical summit with Vladimir Putin. Now, the president just now posting 2 words, high stakes, on Truth Social as he heads out. The meeting comes just days after Russia made a push for battlefield advantage, its forces moving several miles into Ukrainian-held territory in the east. It's still under 20% of the country.